Saving starts with Xfinity. Get a great price on Xfinity Internet. Plus, ask how to get an eligible 5G phone on us. And for a limited time, $300 back when you add Xfinity Mobile. Go to Xfinity.com/start saving. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Restrictions apply.
Hour 2 of the Nick Hanley Show alongside Go Big Ready on a Thursday. Appreciate you making us part of your afternoon. Going to be talking Storm Chasers baseball. The very latest with the farm system and the big boys. Up there in Kansas City with voice of the Omaha Storm Chasers, Jake Eisenberg at 3:30. Also still to come, we will be talking some Husker defense with two guys in 2 hours. Steve Warren at 4:15. Jay Moore at 5:15. I should say consecutive hours, not in 2 hours. Looking forward to catching up with them and the very latest on what's going on in the Warren Academy, too, with Steve Warren. All that's still ahead. I want to get back to where we left hour number one and sort of hash out a little bit more of what I was kind of observing and what I thought was a very good conversation between Sam McEwen and Evan Bland on the Pick Six podcast, the Omaha World Herald. And this idea of Nebraska just being about football. You know, this coaching staff being about football, the players being about football, and the program itself. Nothing wrong with it just being about football. Now, look, there are college football teams throughout the country that don't have to be more than that because there are other things to take the attention off of them, whether we're talking about pro sports cities or, you know, cities that just have a lot of distractions. Look, I've lived in Nebraska my entire life, and our distraction level compared to that of San Diego, yeah, there's a very large difference, right? Or
hey,
even
we're still the San Diego of the big.
Yeah, we're the most west team. Even our neighbors off to the west in Colorado. Look, there's a lot of distractions there too. Pro sports town as well. But we know what the Nebraska football program means to the state. And if there was ever a slight advantage to having an outsider come in and run the football program, maybe that was it. Is you never felt that obligation to get yourself caught up with all the other things and how you want the football program to be able to represent the state and not just have that more simplistic approach of we just want our football program to be successful. And there are ways to be successful other than just winning on the field. I understand that. But look, it doesn't take a genius to figure out. When the team's doing well, when they're winning football games, economy's better, local economy's better. I mean, everybody is just in a better mood, okay? I've always kind of criticized Bo Pelini when he sort of had that us against the world mentality. And it always seemed like it was even us against our own fans at times. And I always thought, well, that's coming from a guy who doesn't get what's truly special about the support you get at Nebraska. But where I was probably missing the mark on what Bo and I think Mike Riley and even, I know, he who shall not be named, Bill Callahan, I know I named him. Yeah. What they probably were always trying to accomplish was, look, I'm not going to pretend that I know what this truly means to these fans and to the state of Nebraska, so I'm just going to worry about football. And I know it didn't necessarily work out well for them. Now, for Bo, again, hindsight's 20/20. At the time, we're like, come on, man, you got to win that big one. But now we look back and say, geez, he won at least 9 games every year. The one thing that I will say where Bo was onto something is he did not need this football program to be bigger than what it was. He did not need this football program to be some type of rallying cry for certain aspects of college sports. And I get why Scott Frost has always felt like this Nebraska football team can be a bigger platform than just what they do on the field. Now, part of it is as you are trying to transition a program into a winning one, it can sort of deflect a little bit of that negative result. You know, when you're not winning as many games by doing what Scott Frost did a year ago, which I thought was very admirable, by speaking up for not only his players, but for the state of Nebraska, speaking up for the local business owners that we're definitely going to benefit from having a football season and we're going to benefit from having some type of attendance. Look, it's very admirable. And I don't think Scott Frost was doing that to sort of deflect the possibility that they might have a bad season. I think Scott Frost truly does care. He's a Nebraskan. So it does mean those types of things mean more to him than that of an outsider. But what I always find to kind of be interesting is we always discuss, man, this program cannot avoid drama. And sometimes it's self-inflicted. Sometimes it's just sort of thrown at them, not by their doing. But the point is sort of having that let's just be about football approach. And I know it's easier said than done because this program means so much to so many people in this state. I mean, the fact that you literally have weddings postponed because of a game, or you've got the busiest wedding day in this state are on bye weeks. That tells you right there. People, their schedules and some of the biggest events in their life are put on hold because of this football team and when it's on the field. So right there's an example of how big it is. But for a football program that is really trying to find itself under this coaching staff, I think we all get it. Scott Frost cares a lot about this program. And Scott Frost wants his kids to care a lot about this state and what the supporters, the fans, what they hope to see and what they want these kids to represent. But to get caught up in that more and more and not having the result on the field, it can seem like a distraction to where I kind of long for the day of sort of that Bo Pelini of, I'm just going to coach. You guys worry about the rest of the stuff. Let the athletic director, who, of course, we know now, those two did not have a good relationship. But let the athletic director worry about, the politics and, the rah-rah speeches and trying to get everybody behind this. We're going to do our talking on the field. And Scott Frost is never going to blast the fans. He's not going to do that. And hell, Scott Frost was booed when he was starting out at Nebraska. Scott Frost gets that part of it. But if there is also a little bit of that approach of, I'm just going to coach. When somebody wants my opinion on the changing landscape of college football, the old Bo Pelini, it is what it is.
Thanks, guys.
That's at this point, I'm good with that. But I guess I'm also trying to say I understand where Scott Frost is coming from. I understand why he wants to take on some bigger things outside of just football, because he knows what he represents to the Nebraska football fan. He knows that he represents the Nebraska guy, not just the new Nebraska coach. And so last year was a perfect example of a guy who sounded like he was not only trying to rally his team, but he was trying to rally the state. And again, I have nothing but respect for him to do that. But we saw how that all kind of like blew up in their face. And I thought that was completely unfair. But just getting back to I'm not trying to say, hey, be a robot, don't have an opinion on anything. But to make all that public, probably don't need to do that anymore. Just do what you know how to do. Coach this team, get them better, and everything else will speak for itself. Everybody else will be as happy as can be when this thing starts finding that sustained success.
Yeah. It just seems like this year, the team they're not worried about the outside distractions. They're worried about earning their coaches' respect, earning the fans' respect, and even kind of earning the media's respect. Because, I mean, they're tired of not only letting us as fans down, but letting themselves down, you know?
Well, and I think that sense of urgency also, it demands your attention on all of the things we're hearing about right now, where everybody's a little bit more focused on that. Everybody's not worried about, this topic or that topic. They're just worried about getting better in the red zone, not having pre-snap penalties, football stuff, nothing but football stuff, because they understand how big this season is. Not just the coaches, too. The players do, too. They understand how big it is. So I do think it's easier to really dial into that and that alone, as opposed to anything else that is sort of connected to the sport but doesn't necessarily need to be your battle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and also they're not talking about winning a Big Ten West title. They're not talking about going and playing in Indy. They're not talking about how they deserve all this stuff. It's literally just about, this guy's doing better. Adrian's looking amazing. So-and-so's playing hard. He's earning a spot on the depth chart. Like, that's what we're hearing. It's not like, we'll see you in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Like, I was so tired of that.
And, one of the things that was brought up, too, is the other coaches that our local media has had a chance to see at Big Ten Media Days, where they seem to do the football part of it a lot better. It goes back to something that you're hearing, and Sam brought this up when I talked to him, is that all of the coaches, and some of them have always been this way, have been upfront, whether they're giving a honest evaluation of a player. Like, say, Sam asks about Cam Jurgens. Greg Austin has always been one of those guys that, depending on what day it is, if he feels like, okay, you asked me about Cam Jurgens, I'm going to tell you where he screwed up. Maybe the next day I'm going to tell you where Cam Jurgens really impressed me. He had no problem sort of maybe not dressing a guy down to where he's, calling him out in the media, but being open, saying, yeah, he did this well, but he still needs to do this better. Now you see more of the coaches that seem to be doing that and have no problem bringing up, here's the things I like about this person, but this is definitely some area that he needs to improve on. Ryan Held was that way when he was talking about the running backs the other day. Matt Lubick, to a point, was doing that as well. Mike Dawson was. Barrett Ruud was. None of them were, rainbow and sunshine, and every player had zero flaws. It seemed like whatever praise might have been given to one of those players, it was also followed up with, but they got to do this more, or they got to do that more. And I think Sam's right. I think now that these players and coaches have been together enough, they feel like there is that honesty and that they can be honest to the public about it because they're giving that exact same evaluation in practice. And so it's not a matter of, oh, man, he's totally singling this guy out in the media. No, chances are these guys are probably hearing it in a little bit more intense tone at practice. So everybody might be a little more on the same page, but it all comes back to both the coaching staff and the players understanding that sense of urgency. And we talked about this a lot last year. Accountability, holding each other accountable, holding the coaches accountable if they put the players in a bad position with a bad play call. But the players also being held accountable by their coaches. That, you know what, guys, I'm not going to lie to the media or the fans. If you're screwing up and they just so happen to ask me about you, I'm going to be honest with them. Just so we all know we're on the same page, we've got to hold each other accountable. And the only way that you're going to get nothing but praise from me is by doing the right things every day, and that better damn well show up on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we're tired of the sloppy football. They're tired of the sloppy football. They just want to clean it up, and it'll make us happy. It'll make them happy. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that's just happy's fun. I'm tired
happy's fun. Happy's fun, and it's profitable, too.
I know. I'm tired of being sad on the majority of Saturdays in the fall. I just want to be a little happy.
Hopes dashed. It's nice to have hopes validated. That's fun. All right, when we come back, the NCAA is deciding to speed up their 2019 investigations. A lot of that with the college basketball FBI, wiretaps and scandal that was taking place. What does this really mean? Well, I'll give you my best guess after this. So you might be asking yourself, I remember once upon a time the NCAA had adopted this independent accountability resolution process known as the IARP, the Independent Accountability Resolution Process. Kind of reminds me of, if anybody's a fan of The Office, when Dwight had the accountability booster, or as they coined it, the doomsday device. As you know, or if you remember, and if you don't, I'll catch you up to speed. The Independent Accountability Resolution Process was organized by the NCAA back in 2019 to overlook investigations from the NCAA to give those accused of wrongdoing, schools accused of wrongdoing, a full and thorough review of that investigation. And now the NCAA is changing the way that it's going to handle major infraction cases being adjudicated by the IARP in an attempt to speed up what has been a very lengthy process to this point. The IARP is yet to fully adjudicate a school case. Yesterday, the Division I Board of Directors approved immediate changes that will allow the IARP's complex case unit to accept the investigation work of the NCAA's reinforcement staff unless the IARP can demonstrate a compelling reason why additional investigation is required. The Independent Accountability Oversight Committee, so this is a different one, recommended the changes, according to the NCAA. Said the Oversight Committee, which has expressed concerns about the delay in the resolution of cases referred to the independent process, determined that much of the delay is the result of efforts by the complex case unit to reinvestigate cases that the enforcement staff thoroughly investigated. Accepting the enforcement staff's results will speed the process significantly without compromising the goals of the Independent Accountability Resolution Process, committee members think. So all of this kind of stems from the college basketball bribery scandal. NC State is the only case related to the federal investigation that actually has a hearing scheduled before the Independent Resolution Panel, which will decide whether violations occurred and what penalties, if any, will be imposed. The IRP's decision is final and there are no appeals. The Division I Board of Directors also voted to allow case timelines to be developed and published for each IARP case to provide transparency and improve credibility. Now, Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, is among many who have criticized the NCAA for not producing more timely results through this method, through this IARP. At SEC Media Days last month, he told reporters that those accused of violations deserve a fair and timely outcome, and those who compete against those accused of violations deserve that same fair and timely outcome. So right now you have cases involving Arizona, Kansas, Louisville, and NC State had been thoroughly investigated by NCAA enforcement staff and resulted in detailed notice of allegations. That wasn't the case with LSU, according to records released to ESPN. The case involving the LSU men's basketball program includes alleged violations, at least 13 prospective student athletes, and a projected 75 individuals who may have knowledge of and or involvement in the alleged violations in this case. So let's back this thing up for a moment. This independent review process that was brought in by the NCAA is now being deemed too slow. And yet we know the NCAA brought it in to basically double check their work. It's basically their editor, their proofreader. Okay, here's what we found. And if the school, once we send notice of allegations, each school now has the right to say, nope, we want this reviewed by the IARP. Knowing that if the IARP reviews those notice of allegations and they find the same ruling as what the NCAA enforcement panel had, you have to accept the penalty. There are no appeals. So you either accept the NCAA notice of allegations and say, yep, okay, we're not going to, we have decided to waive our opportunity to appeal this to the IARP. Or we want the IARP to review this. Well, what's been genius by these schools is somehow they realize that the IARP would basically sit on their ass. That's what's happened. There's been no movement. There's been times I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. Kansas is still in some hot water. Oh, I forgot NC State. Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah, Louisville. Yeah, that's right. Whatever happened to that? Oh, okay. I mean, it's basically saying, okay, the thing we thought that would speed up the process is now actually slowing it down. So we are now going to recommend that the IARP and the cases that they have, they now just take the findings of the NCAA in enforcement in their investigations, which then why the hell did we have this IARP to begin with? And look, we know how flimsy the investigations from the NCAA can be because, need I remind you, the North Carolina situation or the Miami situation where they completely botched that. So if I'm Louisville or NC State or Kansas, I don't really want to accept the NCAA's enforcement and their investigation because we already know that they have shown flaws before, but I can't sit around and wait to know the fate of my program any longer because it's being used against me in recruiting. We want to put it past us. And they're also right. Like Greg Sankey's absolutely right. If you go through this process, you feel like, okay, it should be done in a timely manner. Bottom line is you want to know what you're dealing with. If you're on probation, if there are major sanctions and violations that you have to deal with, we want to deal with them now. And if we do have that opportunity to have no violations reported and have no sanctions, okay, either way, we need to know this. And as far as the people in your conference that are competing against you, yeah, they should also know, like, so what's going to happen with these guys? I mean, it's another sort of Keystone Cop type thing that the editor or the proofreader of the NCAA investigations now can't churn out anything in a timely manner. And it's laughable, man. It's so laughable.
I know. I mean, you're so passionate about the IARP. I don't want to hear your thoughts on the AARP, Nick.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I'm very close to that.
Is there anything more useless than the NCAA, I guess, besides like telephone booth companies? Like, come on now. You guys have one job. It's to enforce your rules, and you can't even do that in a timely manner.
Yeah.
Like if Amazon can get me an iPhone charger in a day and a half, you should be able to do this or investigate in at least a year and a half.
Well, and this is what I always thought. The NCAA could use this as a loophole against even some of the blue bloods in certain sports by saying, hey, we are ruling heavily on the violations the alleged violations that we found you to commit. We are going to come down with you hard on these notice of allegations, and there are going to be some sanctions, and you're not going to like them. But we can also create this independent review panel, and if you exercise that option, well, they might find something different, and then that way you get less of a penalty, and so you still appear in the NCAA tournament, we make money. But we can sit there and say, well, we came down hard on them, but it wasn't our decision. It was the IARP. Remember that whole accountability thing? That accountability that the NCAA, like just same thing with NIL. Hey, we did not want to change the college amateurism model. But those senators ruled in our favor. State laws, we can't fight the law. Wait, you guys aren't going to rule on this? Only a couple states right now? Oh. So we have to sort of do this too? Oh. Damn it. Boy, do we have egg on our face. I mean, that's the NCAA, man. It just can't get out of its way.
Yeah, and it's not like it's just this. I mean, we could talk about
Oh, I know.
the women's basketball tournament, or I mean, even how
What about women's volleyball? We're like, no TV.
which makes no sense. It's the most popular sport in women's
people
athletics.
Started complaining about it. They're like, oh, well, that's our bad. But then the NCAA was like, no, that's ESPN. That's not us. That's ESPN. And they started playing the blame game. That was fun.
Or just like how they kind of tried to blame us for not having good enough facilities for the tournament.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, calm down now. It's not our fault.
It's just, that whole lesser role that Mark Emmett was talking about, it's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think that might serve them well. All right, we're going to catch up with voice of the Omaha Storm Chasers, Jake Eisenberg, right after this. I feel really kind of like a jerk as we get ready to talk to our next guest, who is the voice of the Omaha Storm Chasers, Jake Eisenberg. The reason I feel like a jerk, Jake, is because I actually have a Columbus Clippers shirt on today because I'm, as everyone knows, I'm a Cleveland Indian fan. And, I got this shirt a few years ago. It's a nice, soft, kind of cool, little retro logoed Columbus Clippers shirt. And I didn't even realize when I put it on today that, that's who the Storm Chasers are playing. And, I'm talking to Jake Eisenberg. So I felt like full transparency right now.
That's important, A. B, there are 18 games this season between Omaha and Columbus. Wear that shirt any other than 112. But for the 18 where they play each other, come on, get some Storm Chasers gear on. Let's go.
And I do. I have a great pullover. I think I even got a polo from a couple years back. I got a couple lids that I could have wore today. I know. I'm sorry, man. It was bad timing.
I think it's only fair, Nick, that tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, you're rocking Storm Chasers gear. And we also got to see you rock some Storm Chasers gear when the Clippers come to Warner Park in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
How's that sound?
I can do that. And in fact,
okay.
I can tell you this. I've been talking to one of my buddies. We're doing a bachelor party next Saturday, and one of the destinations will be a Storm Chasers game. So how you like them apples?
Oh, are you thinking a Thursday?
No, unfortunately, it's going to be a Saturday.
Okay, well, you guys will still have a great time. That'll be awesome.
Yes, we're looking forward to that. But enough of my future plans and my.
I'm gonna point the crowd mic away from where you guys are.
Oh, I would.
I think that's the smart plan.
I think we're going to be safe and just get some GAs so we can roam about left field and we won't be harming the broadcast whatsoever.
Sounds good.
Because we got a full day of golf before that, so you can only imagine the mood we'll be in when we get there.
Oh yeah. Golf, then a ball game. Get some hot dogs, some cold ones. That's a good day. Enjoy.
The hot dogs are going to be a necessity. You'll need to soak up some alcohol. That's for sure. But anywho, It is not a Thirsty Thursday this Thursday because, of course, Omaha is on the road in Columbus. So, what's the latest this week with the Omaha Storm Chasers?
Well, so far the Chasers have won one and they've lost one. It was an extra inning win on Tuesday. Bobby Witt Jr. hit a 3-run homer in the top of the 11th inning. It was a 6-run top of the 11th inning. Chasers won it 11-7. Lost last night 6-4. Nearly made a complete comeback. Wound up stranding the 2 tying runs on base in the top of the 9th inning. But Bobby Witt Jr. homered again, so he's now homered in back-to-back ball games, and he's been playing like the superstar that we know he is. Yesterday, we also saw Brady Singer and Jackson Kowar pitch in the same game for the first time since they were freshmen at Florida in 2016. And while neither had a dominant outing, it was still really fun to watch here at Huntington Park.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Brady Singer, too, and I know he's kind of bounced back and forth, but what have you kind of seen from him? Because all the attention has been on Jackson Kowar, but yeah, I remember when both of those guys were pitching in Omaha, the CWS, and teammates at Florida. Brady Singer, obviously a very well-accomplished pitcher, a guy that has been able to have some success. What have you kind of taken away from him?
Well, Brady Singer is with the Storm Chasers on a rehab assignment right now from right shoulder fatigue. He's been on the injured list since July 20th. And in fact, these first couple of rehab starts for Brady are his first 2 AAA starts ever because he skipped the Omaha Storm Chasers on his way to the big leagues last year. But, what you see with Brady Singer is what you've been told to expect. You see a ton of competitiveness on the mound. I mean, you could not read his face with a magnifying glass. And you also see just a ton of polish. He's quick to the plate. He's confident. He's direct. He's intentional. And the big thing for Brady Singer, as he goes back to the Royals, is just starting to feel like he did at the beginning of the season and make sure clear that his arm is in the place where he wants it to be for the final stretch of the big league season. And I know that they're also talking with him about really working on his changeup a little bit and developing that as a third pitch to go along with his fastball and his slider. But, first 3 innings yesterday, he faced the minimum through 3 innings and then gave up a couple of hits in the fourth and wound up at his pitch count, left the game. Some inherited runners came to the score and kind of marred what that final line was going to be. But, after a first rehab start last week against Toledo where he didn't look too sharp, last night looked pretty sharp.
Yeah, and I remember watching him a couple of games last year with KC, and there was a lot of things you like about him, and just has had a little bit more of a quiet year with the big league, and as you said, now rehabbing with the injury. But as far as just his overall mechanics and his stuff, if I remember correctly, just kind of watching him when he was not only pitching with KC, but even watched some of those games when he was at Florida, like just extremely smooth with those mechanics.
Oh, so smooth. And it's honestly one of the quickest motions that I've seen in terms of, he's not really from the windup. He's kind of sort of in between a windup and a stretch when there are no runners on base. He takes a quick step back, lifts the leg and drives home pretty fast. And, he doesn't waste a whole lot of time when he gets the ball back from the catcher either. He's getting the ball and he's going next pitch coming in. It's a really good pace.
Well, you mentioned, we've talked about it the last couple of weeks now, too, Bobby Witt Jr. and just the young, outstanding prospects. We can even throw Nick Pratto in there as well, as far as how those guys now in a couple of weeks under their belt at the AAA level. What have you taken away again from this week?
Well, I would say that last night was really maybe the first time that Nick Pratto struggled at the plate. He went 0 for 5, but outside of that, he's been outstanding. He's showcased a really good eye at the plate. The defense is stellar at first base, and you can tell why infielders love having him over there. And then Bobby Witt Jr. has just kind of picked up right where he left off at the AA level. He's now got 4 doubles, 5 home runs. He's got 6 multi-hit games in his first 14 AAA games. He's batting just a shade over 300, and he's been playing an electric shortstop. And it's not just to then, you can also throw Jackson Kowar into that top prospect mix. Even though, he's been with the Omaha Storm Chasers the entire season and he's made his big league debut, he's still very much a top prospect in this organization. And after his outing yesterday, he now leads the league in ERA and strikeouts over 63 innings this year at the AAA level. So really all 3 of them are performing really, really well, and they're going to be contributing with the Kansas City Royals at some point in the not-too-distant future. When that is, I don't know, but it's coming, that's for sure.
And, Jake, I noticed we're seeing a couple of guys with the Storm Chasers representing their countries in the Olympics, too.
Oh, yeah, and this is such a cool thing. I've got to put, a fan hat on a little bit because, I'm an American and I'm rooting for the United States in the Olympics, and I want to see all of the athletes in Tokyo win gold medals, but especially the United States and especially Bubba Starling, who's been with Team USA for the last couple of weeks. And, we're also cheering on Eric Mejia, who's with the Dominican Republic. And it was really cool the other day, early in the morning, to wake up and watch Bubba Starling and Eric Mejia go head-to-head in the Olympics, the United States against the Dominican Republic. And the United States came out on top in that game. But there's a chance for both of those guys to come back to Omaha with medals around their necks. The Dominican Republic is playing in the gold medal game. That'll happen on Friday at 3 a.m. Central Time. So you can either stay up super late or you can wake up super early and watch Eric Mejia and the Dominican Republic face South Korea in the bronze medal game. But the United States won early this morning over Japan 7-2, and they've earned a spot in the gold medal game. That'll be against Japan this Saturday, 5 a.m. Central Time. Bubba Starling could be coming back to the United States and coming back to the Omaha Storm Chasers as a gold medalist in the Olympics. And that, Nick, it is just so, so cool.
Talking to the voice of the Omaha Storm Chasers, Jake Eisenberg, here on AM 590. As far as the Chasers right now in the standings, still sitting good right now?
Yeah, still sitting pretty. Right now, tied for first, no longer sole possession of first. Chasers started this week tied for first with the Toledo Mud Hens after the series last week against Toledo. And then after splitting these first couple of games at Huntington Park, now back in a tie for first with the Toledo Mud Hens. Chasers are 45-33 on the season, so tied for first in the Midwest Division, and they've been either tied for first or in sole possession of first every day since May 25th. So it's been a while at the top of the Omaha Storm Chasers, and they're getting pretty comfortable up there, Nick.
What's with the road woes, though? They're not nearly as dominant at home, and I know that's kind of a Captain Obvious type thing. Usually you have more success at home, but I noticed, more of a 500 team on the road?
Yeah, actually just a game under 500 on the road after last night. Now 24-11 at Warner Park and 21-22 on the road. And, it's one of those things that doesn't necessarily have a rhyme or reason other than, getting to sleep in your own bed and eating at, more familiar places, whether it's at home or a restaurant you like, and, coming to your home ballpark and being in your home clubhouse and, of course, being in front of your home fans. And I know that that's been a theme this year, that after a non-season in 2020 where there were no games in front of any fans for a lot of these guys at the minor league level, now being back in front of home fans at Warner Park is a really, really big deal. And I know these players, I've talked to them about how having that energy at the ballpark at Warner Park has been such a special part of this season. And, if you ask me, it's no doubt a contributing factor to the really good home record at Warner Park this year.
Keeping them out too late, too, on the road, aren't you?
Well, last night or 2 nights ago, I had an 11-inning game that went 4.5 hours. So I think the Clippers are taking care of that.
Yeah, they're keeping you guys out late. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
we know Omaha returns next Tuesday, or this upcoming Tuesday, in a series with the iCubs, and so I got the 2-week homestand too. As far as what's sort of coming up as Omaha gets back to Warner Park next week, what are we looking at?
Yeah, it's been a while, right? I've been on the road for 2 weeks, but back on August 10th, it's a 2-week homestand from August 10th to August 22nd. First week of that homestand is against the Iowa Cubs, so they'll take the trip down I-80 and come over to Warner Park. And then August 17th through August 22nd, it is the first and only time this year that the Columbus Clippers make the trip out to Warner Park this year, AAA affiliate of the Cleveland Indians. So, everything's on tap, all the weekly promotions that you've come to know and love and expect throughout the season. Thank You Tuesdays, Thirsty Thursdays, pregame music on Fridays, Bands and Brews and Family Sundays. All that good stuff is coming up over the next couple of weeks at Warner Park. It's just going to continue to be some really awesome baseball as we, go through the end of August and school starts up. So, we're kind of looking at the last bit of summer, if you will, going into fall. So I know it's painful to say, it's painful to admit, but that's the truth. So, these are the last 2 weeks of games in August. So come out and enjoy the last bits of this 2021 summer with us.
I'll be there on Saturday. Probably, hopefully, more games. I know I want to take my wife and our little guy out there too. But Saturday, the next Saturday, the boys will be out there, and that should be a rowdy time. Well, I'll try to refrain from trying to heckle.
You guys are gonna stir it up. It'll be great.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna even let you know where we're at because we don't need to be on the video board.
I don't think you need to. I think I'll be able to either spot you or hear you guys.
What's game time tonight, Jake?
We've got a 6:05 Central Time first pitch. We're on the air at 5:45 with our pregame coverage. Looking forward to another good one tonight. Marcelo Martinez is on the mound for the Omaha Storm Chasers, and there's a familiar face on the other side for the Columbus Clippers. Keith Philmeyer is pitching for Columbus. He was with Omaha in 2018 and 2019. Now he's in the Cleveland organization. So you've got a Storm Chaser on the mound for Omaha and a former Chaser on the mound for Columbus, and then also in the lineup, Adalberto Mondesi makes his second appearance in a rehab appearance with the Omaha Storm Chasers. He's batting second and playing shortstop tonight for Omaha, with Bobby Witt Jr. hitting leadoff and playing third base. So, eye emojis right there for that left side of the infield.
Look forward to it. Have a great call tonight, Jake.
Thank you so much, Nick. Talk to you soon.
All right, when we come back, speaking of baseball, man, that Field of Dreams game, which is going to be taking place between the Yankees and the White Sox, they unveiled the uniforms, and they are sick. We discuss now. So a week from today, the White Sox and the Yankees are playing in the Field of Dreams game out of Dyersville, Iowa, and they unveiled their new uniforms. The White Sox are like the exact replica of what they were worn in Field of Dreams. The Yankees got the old school look, a little bit more of the big NY, the New York across the front. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. All right, coming back with more, including the Big Ten Network visiting Nebraska high on the Huskers.